So, for those of you watching live right now, you may notice that Prime Time's gone a little bit more mobile right now. We're at the Childress Klein YMCA, and I have the pleasure of being here with the doc, the sergeant, Brian Manion. What's going on, Brian? How you doing today?
Chad.
That's great to see you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you having me up here. And really, I just wanted to take the Prime Time to the next level to learn a little bit about everyone who's got a piece of the pie, if you will, of helping people get better and feeling healthier. And you're doing it from a personal training standpoint. And you know, like, people can literally get a personal trainer certification overnight, right? I mean, there's a lot of that out there. Yeah. You've been in the grind for a long time. We work with a few different clients and collaborated really well, I think, about as well as we could do in just modern day time and how busy we are.
Yeah.
Still we're able to communicate and help people get better. So I wanted to basically give you an opportunity to kind of tell your side of the story. You know, you're the one in the trenches. Trainers are in the trenches more than anyone else. Even a therapist who has an opportunity to work with someone one-on-one, I mean, how long does that last? Hopefully if we do our job, right, it's 12 weeks and they're gone. Yeah. They see their physician once a year, and when they do go, when they're hurt, it's 5 minutes. You guys hear everything. So I thought it'd be great to get you on and just, you know, let the world kind of hear your side of the story and how we can continue to just provide better care to people all around. So what I'd like you to do, I'm going to change the camera so it sees you a little bit more, but just feel free to kind of tell everyone your side of the story, when you got certified, and just kind of give a little bit of a background.
Sure.
So they kind of have a better idea of where you're coming from.
So I got certified like 23 years ago. So I started off with, I went through college. I got my Bachelor's of Science in Exercise Science at the Citadel. And I knew that I wanted to do something, you know, on the fitness side of things. And from there, essentially came to the Y and started off, you know, working the floor, meeting, you know, members, seeing what their wants were, any of their concerns. And just from that, within an 18-month period of time, just from working the floor, having, you know, orientations and member interactions, I was able to build up a client base.
That's awesome.
And from that, so for the last, you know, 21 plus years, just been working off that client base, which is pretty much 85 to 90% has been here at the Y. I've got a couple of clients that I see outside of the Y.
Sure.
And I would say over that span of time, the things that I've noticed, you know, being in the trenches in terms of collaborating with other healthcare professionals is number one, communication is key. Yeah. And so realizing that, you know, the client is the number one resource, right?
Perfect.
So so, you know, for me, the biggest thing that I see on the healthcare front with the collaboration of a teamwork is with the advent of technology that we have now is using our technology, right? Using, you know, like what we've used, you know, Google Docs in terms of having, you know, a context of what's going on with the client, right? You know, and what we're all working on, right? So that has been that's been huge. So of course, you know, working with you and then working with a chiropractor that I know as well and that you've collaborated with as well too. And then, so for me, I got my certification through the ISSA, Frank Hatfield, and
nice.
So for the personal training there. So I did that, and then I went and got my NSCA, the National Strength and Conditioning Association, Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist, in 2007. Okay. And still really doing the same things that I was doing before, but just it augmented my knowledge base.
Nice. Right? Exactly.
Basically I've utilized that, and then have done a couple of periphery, you know, workshop certifications, you know, from that time on. So.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I want to just kind of move into what seems to be some of your biggest barriers for your clients truly achieving your goals. You know, personal trainers, you guys have an awesome opportunity where it's literally, it could be an indefinite prescription, right? I mean, at what point does a doctor really not go, don't get stronger, don't get healthier, find a personal trainer that can help you really work out, right? So in a perfect world, your clients would be able to just continue to work out and achieve all their goals. And of course, it doesn't quite work like that, even when you're a stud like yourself. So what seems to be some of the biggest barriers that you're running into, and you can take that really any angle because that's just life sometimes, right? So what seems to be like, oh man, this person ran into this barrier, they're not quite able to achieve said goal?
Yeah, so I've been fortunate enough that been doing this long enough where I've been able to be somewhat selective in terms of who I've been able to take on. A lot of it's through referrals as well.
Yep.
So for me, that aside, my current client base, I don't have a lot of clients that have issues that would compromise our training sessions, so to speak. And if they do, I send them to you, Chad. So, but for me, I think the biggest obstacles in terms of what I have to deal with clients is just travel schedules, work schedules, and like we said before, communication. For me, I think the bedrock of my success in terms of being here at Childress Klein is, and being the longest standing trainer here, and having a pretty large client base as well too, is for me it's just accountability and communication.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm constantly interacting or reaching out to clients because they stay busy. They got full-time jobs and families and stuff. And for me, that is a source of my income. So if I'm not taking the initiative to communicate, then, then that's on me. So that's probably the number one obstacle that I have to deal with, but I do think that not reaching out to them, it's just easy for things to slide by, and then you start getting backlash in terms of, well, I'm not seeing my results, or I'm not meeting my goals.
Right. I think you said something really important there, is how you're holding them accountable. Consistency is key. People are busier than ever. I mean, just to have a conversation with someone nowadays feels like you're pulling teeth. I mean, people are just on the go. And consistency is insanely key, especially when you're working with a personal trainer like yourself. What would you say is an idealistic prescription for most people in terms of how many times would you like to see them per week?
So 2 to 3 times a week. So I tell people, 1 is minimal, 2 is ideal, 3 is optimal.
Perfect. Yeah. And when they're that busy, it can be challenging to get there 3 times a week. But you're reaching out, you're holding them accountable. And I think that's what a really good personal trainer does, and they've got that relationship with someone. And you're not just bulldozing them or pulling their leg. It's just like, hey, like, you need to show up. Like, you're hiring me to be basically your personal guide towards a better health and fitness. And I'm telling you, you need to show up with this. I know you've got this meeting. Life will probably only get busier or more complicated. You've got to figure this out. Right, and I know life happens. You run in the ER, emergencies happen, but you've got to mitigate almost anything and everything between. So I think you just said something that's just natural for you to do on a daily basis. But how many people are watching this that are kind of going, well, maybe my guy doesn't reach out to me as much, and that's really true on any healthcare professional, right? From a therapist perspective, are we following up with people and holding them accountable? Are they doing their exercises? Is a physician following up with them and saying, are you taking your medications? I mean, it's pretty bad. I mean, most people, as you know, it's just even the professionals are busier nowadays, and insurances have made things even crazier. So that little personal touch to say, hey, are you showing up tomorrow at Friday? And some of it's indirect because it's income based, which kind of turns out to be a good thing in some ways. Would you prefer getting paid $10,000 a month and not having to reach out? Probably. But indirectly, when you reach out to them, there's a motive there in both ways. And then it's enough to help get them continuing to work out, which is awesome.
It's the old adage of people don't care what you know until they know that you care.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And so we build rapport. I mean, I know my clients, kids and whatnot, and then you also learn. I mean, I've had things that have been helpful to me just in talking to them. Some things that I've gone through in terms of raising my kids and stuff. So
true.
So it's a relationship.
Yeah, it almost always comes down to that, and just like I said, in busier and busier worlds, more corporate-esque, it's kind of like I think people are losing that. And even when in my experience, you try to create that, it's almost like you feel this defensive shield, kind of like, what do you really want?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, I'm just literally trying to help you.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of, it feels like that's the way people are a little bit hardwired kind of nowadays. So
I totally agree.
What are some of the most common injuries that do pop up? Now, I know that's somewhat of a skewed question because you've got a really great understanding of what not to do already. So I think just from a epidemiology standpoint, you're going to have lower injury rates than maybe someone that just saw this YouTube video and like, hey, that looks cool, want to try that out.
Right.
So let's keep that in mind. Nonetheless, things will pop up as you're working out. I know even for me, I like to think I've got some of the best form I've ever had. Things can slip up a little bit. You get tired or not quite lined up. But what would you say from the injuries that do pop up, what kind of things are we looking at for you and your clients?
Yeah, so speaking of that, and like you said it with the form, I think back to not too long ago where I was feeling the same way as a trainer, right?
Yeah.
Just being the person that you think, hey, knows what the correct form is.
Yeah, sure.
And videotaping myself and sending you the video on that, you critiquing it, sharpshooting it, and I was just like, crap.
Yeah, I know.
I thought I had this dialed in, and I'm a mess.
Yeah, so, that's a great point.
So for me, so that was great. That's something that I should have done earlier on as well too. But for me, the things that I see most are lower. The most prevalent would be lower back.
Yep.
So some lower back issues, as well as some elbow tendinopathies, what have you, and shoulders. Those would be the most prevalent that I've had to deal with, and that sending clients to you that you've
as needed,
have had to address. Those have been the main staples that I've had to deal with.
Now, it can be a sticking point too. It's kind of like we don't want to send everyone out right away. Like, we know that's not right, but you also don't want to hold on too long.
Yeah.
And it's a fine line. It's one of the toughest fine lines that I've experienced in just talking to other fitness professionals about how do they find that fine line. So what are some protocols, standardized ways of thinking about, okay, I need a little help. Like, it's time for this client to go see whoever it is. So what kind of goes through your head? I might be putting on your spot a little bit, but what kind of goes through your head a little bit on that? Because I think that's a hidden gem that we can kind of bring out for really anyone.
So that's a great question. So for me, I think when I feel like the nature of what I'm programming is comprising too much on the prehabilitation side.
Nice.
Or having to navigate exercises that I would ordinarily program.
Yeah.
Then that's usually a telltale sign for me, hey, I need to give Chad a call. I need to get this client, in touch with Chad.
Yeah.
Or if it's the chiropractor,
whoever,
or whatnot.
Yeah.
But typically, for most, when it is, from my perspective, some type of soft tissue, issue,
right.
It's definitely going to be, refer out to Chad.
Right.
I'm starting to see it's the nascency of being problematic.
Nice.
And we need Chad to address this, right? So it's just important not to know your scope of operations, right? Know what your limitations are, right?
Big stuff. Big stuff.
That would be it, for me. Especially when I feel like I have to alter the program to such an extent to where it's becoming too,
kind of watered down.
Watered down, prehabilitative. Then it's like, we need a ceasefire on this.
Right.
And I need to get this person out.
Big points right there for really any fitness professional. Not to throw this other profession underneath the bus, but I think a lot of massage therapists kind of find themselves trying to prescribe exercises like that as well, and it's like, it can get a little bit too watered down. It's kind of like, what quite are we after at that point too? Something I think that we've done really well with our clients that we've really continued to work with is, even though, like, let's say they've got that back pain, we are able to continue to work with them, and you're able to continue to work with them.
Right.
It doesn't mean just everything halters. And I think that's just really important for the psyche and the people that, yes, I've got this going on, but I'm still showing up with Brian Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we're going to just kind of put those things on hold and keep working out. I just think that's huge for the psyche, So I think just your thought of overall figuring out when someone's appropriate to really kind of be somewhat handed off in the sense like, hey, I still love to keep working with this guy. And I say, absolutely. Right? They're not broken. They might be able to work upper body, work around it. I'd like to just continue to see the healthcare world, continue to work like that.
Yeah. Well, on that note too, I think you have to also be careful about, well, first and foremost, to any new trainer or young trainer, it's like being honest with yourself, right? Putting the ego in check, that it's okay that you don't know what the issue is.
Sure,
right? What's important
exactly.
First and foremost when you're starting out is to be able to build a network of other health professionals, that you can refer out to, right? So it's okay that you don't know exactly what's going on, and you also have to be careful that you're not working around an issue to such an extent to where it becomes the elephant in the room.
Yeah,
so to speak.
Right. That's perfectly well said.
So because you're avoiding doing exercises that are problematic to them, and you're not addressing that issue, that could then blow up on you and them, and then you lose a client, and then you could have prevented something earlier on, that's now it becoming a bigger issue to the client, and then you could have potentially lost a client. So,
and I think that's probably one of the many reasons why you've got such a big client base. You're okay to tell them genuinely, like, this is outside of what I could do. Let's go seek out there and get a little bit more help.
Yeah.
And I think people really appreciate that, right? Because if that elephant runs out of the room at some point, they're going to be pissed, and then they might be like, maybe this, I need to move on because they feel frustrated. But I think that's just a big point for especially any new personal trainer to hear if they're considering to become a personal trainer. You don't have to know everything. I mean, it's great to know as much as you can.
Yeah.
But if there's an end in sight, being able to bring on your chiropractor, hell, I mean, bring on someone else that that's just smarter than you are and start there. Bring on a massage therapist and let them check it out and see what they think. Bring on a whole network of people that can help just take that client to whatever their goals are. And that's kind of what we talked about earlier. This should revolve around the client.
Yeah.
It's got to be bigger than us. And I think in the health world, just to rant a little bit, I feel like there's a lot of God complexes. Like, I've got to know everything. And there's going to be cases that I don't know exactly all the ins and outs of what's going on with the client. And I'm going to be honest with them. Like, could be this, could be that. And it just comes back to being a good person and trust, and like you said, knowing that they need to know that you truly care about them, and that honesty will go a really long way. So, I'm one of the reasons I'm out here reaching out to you as a personal trainer. I feel like there's a little bit of a stigma between therapists and trainers, and I've seen it on my side too. Therapists kind of being somewhat cocky in senses, and I've seen it on the trainer side where they feel like, what the hell is this therapist doing with these 80-year-old exercises? Like, let's get in there and work out. Have you sensed the same thing on your end?
I have, and up until you and I met, that was par for the course, and I think that's something that it just people in general need to get over. Maybe trainers in general need to get over, because you need to be able to find somebody. There's a reason. It's important to set up a good communication with the therapist to get an understanding of why they're doing the exercises they're doing for your client, right?
Amen
so,
to that,
I didn't go to school to get trained as a physical therapist, right? That's my scope, is not in that. But I need that therapist if a client, is injured or is in a state that is not, primed to be cleared to work out under normal circumstances. I need to tap into that therapist to find out what's going on, and work from their directive of what's contraindicated, what's permitted. So for me, and I think what's important too is, as a trainer, being able to vet different therapists, right, and find out what works.
Exactly.
And
it's a great point.
You and I have worked well on that. We've collaborated well. So
for sure,
it's important.
I think from a therapist perspective, a lot of physical therapists are weak in exercise and strength and conditioning. So I would guess there's a lot of stigma and nervousness, and a lot of therapists are very defensive. I'm just going to come out and say it. A lot of therapists are very defensive about the way they treat, and they're right. But I would guess it's due to maybe a lack of confidence or nervousness, like they should be the pro, they should be the stud, they should be the doctor. But there are times I've seen great trainers know more than a lot of what therapists may know in this world where you're training and you're working out. And so I think from a therapist standpoint, step up your game in terms of knowing the strength and conditioning if you want to work with that clientele.
Chad, great point. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. For me, that was what was key in collaborating with you. Meeting you, like going to one of those workshops, hearing you speak about the spine and upper body injuries, and then picking your brain afterwards and just knowing, hey, this guy gets it. This is a physical therapist that I'm comfortable sending my clients to. There is, to your point, there is a stigmatism within our world, and I have had to deal with it where I've sent a client to a therapist, and it's more of they're giving them the run-of-the-mill type of therapy, and this therapist doesn't work out in the trenches, right? They're not throwing steel around,
moving the weight around,
exactly. And so that was important to me is finding a therapist, yourself, that has that lives it, that is working out, that's throwing the weight around, that understands how the body moves under load. The kinesthetics are involved with that, not just from a theoretical standpoint, but from a practical standpoint.
I know it has helped me personally. I mean, I got my strength conditioning cert in grad school. I was like, yes, this is kind of what I'm looking for to validate my interest and that true bridging the gap. But I've worked out since I was 18, and I learned something new in the gym doing it every day. That like when I get in the gym, like that's my time for a continuing educational course for myself, right? If I'm working out, I'm trying different things, I'm cueing different things, I'm feeling it, and then I'm able to help give it to my client. And I know they feel it too because they're trying to do the same exact thing. So I think there's something to be said for trainers really all over Charlotte, whether you're listening to this in Fort Mill or Pineville, like just finding that person that really gets you. So who knows if you're marathons or runner or hockey, like just trying to find that person that gets you and gets your client to help get them to find their ultimate form of success, because that's someone's living it, and you can't fake that, and you can't get letters behind your name that say that either. You've got to do it every day, So let's get into a little bit more you time, because I really want clients to be able to reach out to you too and kind of get hooked up. Maybe they'll get on the waiting list or whatever it looks like, but I'd like to kind of bring some more attention to that. So just a couple last questions then. So who's your perfect client? So I heard you say earlier you want to be a little selective. I think that's great. I think everyone in their idealistic job would be a little selective as to who they want to work with. I think that's fantastic. So who's your perfect client?
For me, a perfect client is somebody that, and I'm going to quote, and I just read this recently, this is a trainer, I think he trained the LA Lakers or Kobe Bryant. Tim Grover is his name. And so he was talking about, it just really resonated with me, and it's a lot how I'm wired when I really thought about it, is the three criteria. Show up, work hard, and listen.
Perfect.
Right?
Perfect.
And I know it's tough. I mean, he's dealing with, professional athletes, and I'm dealing with, people that are just, making it through the day, dealing with phone calls, business meetings and whatnot. But I think that's important. And for me, that's what I strive to do. I'm a little bit of a control freak about things in my training sessions,
which I like.
So I like for it to go smoothly. The second thing with that is for the perfect client. So somebody that's going to come to the table, to bring that to the table.
Nice.
For me, I've doing it long enough. I've been able to, because you're as a trainer and just dealing with 6 to 8 different personalities.
Oh God, yeah, so
in
true.
A given day.
Yep.
You're expending energy, and I've learned that you only need to put in the amount of energy that they're willing to put in. I'm not going to work. I'm going to meet your energy, right? I'm not going to give you more than what you're willing to work for.
So good.
So the other thing too is having a client that's open-minded, right? So that realizes that, hey, I may challenge them in an area that even though they may be fit and they're a hard charger, and they're type A. But them being open-minded, that I'm challenging them in a different energy system that is not a strength that they bring to the table.
Yes, so, excellent. I think I just realized we get along. I can resonate with all those things, and just at my angle, I bring out weaknesses. My job's to find weaknesses.
Oh, I know.
And there's certain personality profiles that don't, receive that well. I guess we're throwing type A's underneath the bus, but I've kind of seen that. Well, not that we can't ever see type A's; they just need to know we're in it for them.
Yeah.
So the open-minded is huge, probably across the board.
Yeah.
I would guess. This is probably could be its own podcast in itself if we get deep in it. So kind of keep it a little Cliff Note version for us. There's a lot of training methods out there. Oh my God! Like, I feel like I hear a different name every day who's got a cool online program and they're doing this and that, and it's just become beyond exponential to the nth power, right? That being said, you've kind of rooted yourself, you found what works, you're getting great results. So what's your particular type of training method, if you could kind of give us a little bit of a summary for that?
Sure. So for me, and as I've gotten older and done this long enough, saving yourself some. So for me, it's Martin Rooney. I got this from him. I went to one of his workshops.
Nice.
And the acronym is SYSTEM, and it stands for Save Yourself Time, Energy, and Money.
Nice.
So for me, my typical setup is on a typical day for a training session. We start off with just a generalized warm up. That could be some jump rope, maybe 30-50 calorie burn on the assault bike or a rower.
Nice.
Just kind of get the blood flowing.
Yep.
And then knowing what issues a client may have, if they're a bit kyphotic or whatnot, then we'll go into some prehab exercises.
Nice. I like that. Yep. Absolutely.
Some permutations of thoracic extensions, some face pulls, overhead chest stretch. And then some more generalized movement prep, exercises, depending on what we're going to be working on.
Sure.
And then from there, I typically allocate at least 10% of the time towards doing some type of core activation work.
Perfect.
And then from there, we'll go into more of our energy system, work. So for me, we'll go typically more into your strength training, and I follow a couple different models. I'm a follower. I follow Mark Ripito. I like his methodology. So a good resource that I would tell any trainer is Starting Strength is a great resource.
Nice, man.
And then another one that I utilize is Jim Windler's got a good program for strength training, and it's a 5-3-1 program, very simplistic.
Yep.
So, and I kind of use the KISS, keep it simple. Keep it simple with the training. Less is more.
I love that.
So that's of the template for the strength training aspect, and then I usually finish up with the buzzword metabolic conditioning. So another energy system training. So
right.
And that could
Which
be.
I like.
That could be, a Tabata, if you will.
Sure.
Or,
Exactly.
Be,
very cool.
Something along those lines. And then I usually finish up with some active stretching. So
perfect. Perfect.
And most of my sessions are between 45 minutes and an hour.
Love that. A couple of things I wanted to point out that you do inherently well that you may not even realize is when you tell someone that, like when you told the audience that someone was kyphotic, so you're going to give them some permutations of a thoracic extension move, that means you've already kind of assessed them posturally. You've got an idea of where they're limited at.
Right.
So you're already prescribing kind of a rehabilitative technique, which I like, right? So some other therapist might go like, what's he doing that for? Workout? Like, no, that guy probably needs as much of that as possible, right? Yeah. I mean, if you're fighting a spine that, for those of you who don't know what kyphosis means, and you're watching this, it just means you're kind of a rounded back. So with those clients, they need as much of that as possible. So give them a little dose of that every day. He or she's probably not getting it at work. They're sitting at the desk all day, right? You're trying to mitigate 8 hours of horrible posture. So I really like that angle. It's like a little rehab touch that I wish every trainer could do.
Yeah.
Find their limitations. It could just be a quick postural assessment, nothing too crazy. That's a great example. If I'm rounded in the back, let's give you some love as you kind of warm up. That beats the hell out of whatever the hell someone else wants to do just because. And the second thing I really like is keeping it simple. Like the KISS method, it's so cliche, but dude, there's so much guru, weird, foo-foo stuff out there nowadays. I mean, just watch that gym show. I don't want to say the word right now on the podcast, but just watch that. You'll see the Instagram people too. Like, what are your credentials? Like, you might look great, but what the hell are you doing right now? I can't tell you how many people have gotten hurt. I've tried this out. It hurt my back or something like that. And it's just like, oh my God. And I know something else that you and I really align with, not that everyone has to, but keeping it simple in the sense like, do a squat well, do a deadlift well, right? Even if you're doing curls or shoulder press, just do it well, right? I know we've got a lot of muscles, but you don't have to do things that crazy. They actually are quite simplistic once you boil it down in terms of how you're going to train it.
Yeah, and one of the other things with that, Chad, for me, I think is you can't manage what you can't measure.
Perfect.
So for me, it's utilizing exercises and programming accordingly so that you have definable objective metrics. So
amen to that. I'm somewhat speechless. I mean, that's something else that is lost amidst just everyday trainers or even professionals of different sorts in the health and fitness world. It's kind of like, what are we after? Can we objectively assess that? And then let's keep coming back to that if we're going after it or not.
Yeah, I do think trainers, and I've fallen into this myself, they feel like they have to, every session's got to be some type of novelty.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, look what I'm bringing new to the table today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be boring sometimes.
I love that.
And then especially, if you're training multiple clients, and it's hard to manage that. And once again, I mean, you have to tap into your creative juices to come up with programming, and sometimes it's like, whoa, get back to basics. Keep it simple. What's important here? So.
What was it? I was just going to say. I think just along the lines of just keeping it simple and not going above and beyond, and that it's okay to be boring sometimes, right? Like, yes, it's okay to be boring. People think you've got to just come in there and check this out. It's like, at least for me, I can speak on my own adventures, and I'll ask you in a second, but man, there's a lot of days I work out. It's really boring. It's boring as hell. Like, it's a tough day. I'll put some music in. I wish I wasn't there. I'm tired. I'd rather be at home doing whatever. Yes, it's going to be boring. You're not going to set a PR every day or what have you. And I think YouTube or social media has kind of misled us in that, and everyone's showing them the highlight of that day. The reality is, again, I can speak for myself, and I'll let you bridge on that in a second, but there's a lot of times it's grueling, and that's the nature of it, and that's why obesity is probably higher than ever, because we've got food intake with higher caloric intake than ever, and it's really hard to get the work done, especially when you're busy all the time. Yeah,
and I think also we get too sucked into how we're feeling, and I think you need to be able to dismiss that, right? You got to be more purposeful on not allowing your feelings to dictate you putting some time in, to the gym.
Gotta love that.
Not every session has to be perfect.
Right. So,
don't let perfect be the enemy of good.
Dude, if you guys need to, go back and watch this and listen to this, because there are a lot of one-liners. I knew you'd come through. They just flow out of you. You're going to have these one-liners. I'm going to go back and just get my notebook out and jot them all down. So, kind of wrapping up, what's your why? What drives you to keep working out as you get older, and how are you managing that?
Yeah, for me, I just think it just helps me from a mindset perspective. It's medicine for me.
Yeah.
It's a medicine. Who knows what I'd be doing if I didn't train and work out. So for me, and then of course, I've got to be I got to be a model of what I preach. Right? It's just
amen to that.
So to me, that's it's just huge, because I want to look like somebody who walks the walk, talk the talk, right? So and I have realized, as I've stated before, as I've gotten older with this, less is more. I don't work out to the same frequency as I did before.
Yep.
Just my body just responds better to the added rest.
Right.
So, and it took me a while to figure that out, just from a mental perspective of thinking that, hey, that I'm not wimping out.
Right. Yes. Great point. Absolutely.
But just being able to listen to the body, realizing, hey, no, man, you're beating yourself up. You continue to be in a cyclical,
Yes.
injury prone state. So for me, that's what it is. I mean, it helps clear the mind, just a good mindset, and then knowing that I've got to be able to be an example of what I espouse. So
absolutely, we work with a lot of 40, 50-year-olds, and a lot of them are complaining of like the lack of recovery. Can't do what I used to do, and it's kind of like, yeah, you might need more rest, right? Art doesn't have to be just some sacred word that you can't use.
Yeah.
Like, even if I'm busier than ever, stress is up, maybe I'm not working out 5 days a week, and maybe I'm going in 3 days a week. And that's probably still as much as my body can handle at that point. Yeah. So therefore, it's as helpful as it could be. Take a little bit more rest days. It doesn't have to be the end of the world. Now, if you notice you took 2 weeks off, you haven't gone to the gym, that might be a different story.
That's a problem.
Right? Get your ass in here with Brian if that's the case. But all right, so Brian, who wouldn't want to work with you at this point? So let's help them bridge that gap. So you're obviously at Childress Klein up here at the Uptown YMCA. Someone's like me, motivated to work out now, so I want to go work out with you after this or something like that. But what's the easiest way for someone to get in contact with you? And obviously we can put links on this after we're done. But yeah, just for those who are listening in the car, traveling right now.
Yeah. For me, I'm not a big social media guy, as I've told Chad that. So I'm a bit of a dinosaur. I need to get up with the times, I guess, on that. But I've got an email address, the Brian.Manion at YMCACharlotte.org, that you can reach me.
Say it again slower. I think they might have missed it.
Brian.Manion at YMCACharlotte.org.
Perfect.
That's the best way to get a hold of me. And I've got a couple other, cell phone and personal email. But as Chad said, he can attach those in the links.
We'll get those down.
To this. So.
Brian, this has been awesome, man. I feel like we could do this every week.
Yeah, man.
I wish time would allot for that, so we'll have to figure out something down the road. But with any other questions that you guys have for really either of us, feel free to comment below. We'd be more than happy to get help. And Brian's definitely one of the best trainers I've met in the city of Charlotte. So if you're on the fence, you're looking for someone to get going, or maybe someone's let you down in the past, maybe you haven't had a good experience. I know quite a few people of that. Give Brian a chance. We'll see if we get you on a schedule. We'll go from there. So, cool. Brian, thanks so much for hopping on, my friend.
Absolutely.
Guys, appreciate it.
Peace.
Talk to you soon.